I'm talking with Joanne Bayless. We're just closing up the SEFA conference, the spring conference here in Birmingham, Alabama, and you did a great job, Joanne, and you're finally done with your 2-year tenure at SEFA. How do you feel?
It feels good, I won't lie. It's been a great 2 years. The membership is awesome. They all came out to support this last conference, and I hope they continue to do so. Tony Nelson will take over in about 10 minutes. He becomes president of the SEFA, and I know he's going to do an outstanding job, and he will continue to grow our membership.
It was a great, great conference. One of the things that I really felt was it seems like it's kind of re-energized.
It's definitely re-energized. You can just tell. Everyone has a positive feel. They look forward to coming again, and they really want to promote the networking, come out, and whether we're playing glow golf or listening to Dan Reeves talk, you felt the spirit in the room. Everybody's joining together, and we all have a common goal. We all want to be successful in the fastener industry together, and that's what we're all here about.
Yeah, we had NFL legend Dan Reeves speak this morning. It was really inspirational, and of course the glow golf was over the top. It was way more fun than I expected, Joanne.
It was way more fun than I expected too. I've been talking it up, and when we almost didn't have it, I was a little pouty about it, but they managed to pull it together, and in the end, I don't think we could have picked anything else and had more fun.
Yeah, there was a little snag there, but in true presidential form, you dropped the hammer on the management, and they got it done.
They did. They came out, and they had about 100 phone calls to get it all done, but that was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to next year already.
Well, as you said, Tony Nelson's coming in as the new president, and this was, I guess, the first event for SEFA with Nancy Rich as the executive director, correct? So your team is in place, the association is energized, we've all had our fill of glow golf, and we're ready to get out there and set the fastener world on fire. So
thanks, Eric, so much for coming out and joining us, and we look forward to another great year in the fastener industry.
Mark Klosek from Vertex Distribution, welcome back to Fully Threaded.
Hey, Eric. Nice to see you again here in Birmingham, Alabama. It was a very good Southeastern meeting. Dan Reeves did a wonderful job. And again, I'm excited to be on DIN 975 radio, Fully Threaded.
This is Lauren Perkins with DivSpec Strut and Fittings, and you're listening to Threaded Rod Radio.
What song is it you want to hear?
It's time for Fully Threaded Radio.
It is Fully Threaded Radio, voice of the FCH Sourcing Network. If you buy, sell, manufacture, import, or distribute fasteners, or if you simply fondle industrial fasteners for fun and profit, this is the Internet Talk Radio show for you, and we're glad you clicked in. Eric Dudas here, and the co-host of Fully Threaded is also here, as always. He's the human brown and sharp machine of online fastener sourcing network technology. He's Brian Musker.
Hi, everybody. It's good to talk to you again. Threaded Rod Radio. Should I even ask for the story behind that?
Yes, well, that ties into the SEFA conference from which I just returned, and had a little fun there, to say the least. But while we were winding up, Mark Klosek and Gary Todd of Vertex, along with Lauren Perkins of DivSpec, we were having lunch on the final afternoon and recording a couple of the cut-in segments. And that little nugget came out of, I guess it was a little bit of a misspeak by Gary Todd, and he was doing his promo, and he said, I'm listening to Fully Threaded Rod Radio, and so we all had a pretty good chuckle out of it, and Mark took it the rest of the way with the DIN 975. Now, why hadn't you pointed that out before? You're the king of DIN numbers.
I know. Yeah, well, I was too busy writing notes to Mark, thanking him for making sure he didn't get up to too much mischief at the SEFA conference.
So he was lying through his teeth, apparently.
He he didn't answer that way.
Well, I'll tell you, it was a great conference, and it was good to see so many people turn out. And, of course, Joanne Bayless did a fantastic job for her swan song as CIFA president. And since you were wondering, Bri, they had a pretty respectable Scotch menu at the bar, too.
That was what I was mentioning to Mark about, okay? Thought that's where you would have got into trouble.
Yes, well, among other things, Ruth Dowling and I shared a wee dram there, and although we were tempted to go with the 18 Macallan, we stayed more modest with the 12. It's always a reliable choice, as you know.
Yeah, you mean a wee dram.
Well, we'll have to save for another show some of our better Scotch drinking jokes, because there are quite a few good ones.
Right.
Well, whether you call it Threaded Rod Radio or Fully Threaded Radio, this is episode 44. It's another great one, and we're publishing on April 26th, 2012. The big story this week comes from the technology side of things, as e-tailing giant Amazon announced its new AmazonSupply.com beta site. Now, they've actually been playing in the industrial supply and MRO worlds for some time, but the new site has made waves, and we're going to be joined by our friend Andy Pels to share some thoughts on this news. Today's feature segment is part 2 of the great Bruce Darling's presentation to the Southwest Fastener Association conference last month. In this part, Bruce wraps up his account of events that have impacted the industry recently and moves on to make a few predictions. This is where it gets really interesting, folks, and we're so proud to be able to bring this feature to you. Plus, Mike McNulty of Fastener Technology International magazine has the Fastener News Report, and this edition features a conversation with Mark Packard, sales manager of Rocknell Fasteners of Rockford, Illinois. Rocknell was featured last week on Fox Business Channel's Manufacturing Marvels, and we'll hear about that, as well as Mark's view of the automotive fastener space these days.
So how are you going to fit all that in?
The threaded rod way, my friend.
Ah, okay.
And the title sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio are Stelfast. For service you deserve and people you trust, it's Stelfast. Hey, Bri, I saw a quote from Simi of Stelfast in Global Fastener News. This was from the April 19th issue, and they were covering the Southwestern Fastener Association conference. Simi was on a panel discussion there. Did you see this one?
Yeah, after you pointed it out to me, I did actually.
Well, she speaks directly to the slogan for Stelfast, and she said, quote, "The most important thing is to buy from someone you trust." She went on to say, "A supplier you trust is someone who will stand by you when we all thought we were doing it right, and the customer has now decided we did not." You hear that story quite a bit out there in the fastener world these days, huh?
Yeah, well, that's why we all say in the end that you got to deal with the supplier. He's the one who's ultimately going to tell you how, what you really need.
Absolutely. And Stelfast is that supplier. Also, Beacon Fasteners and Components. They're getting lots of traction with their all-new line of RoHS compliant machine screws, people. So give them a call and see what Beacon can do for you. Beacon Fasteners. Nice threads. And as always, reach out to us. Let us know how we're doing. Talk to us at the email address ftr@fullythreaded.com. Also, check out our Facebook page, and we post some supporting links up there, and we like hearing from you that way as well. And, of course, we're out there in the Twitter sphere. Get with us there under the handle Fully Threaded. Okay, I saw Daniel Rivlin of Bozzi Fasteners was tweeting from the Hanover Fastener Fair in Germany. He had a couple of photos up there, and there was even one of him in the Holochrome booth.
Yeah, he's based in France, isn't he, Daniel, I think?
I think that's true. And he gets around, though.
Yep. Yeah, he came over to see us at our booth a couple of years ago at the Las Vegas show.
Yes, I remember that. And I got an email from him a couple of weeks back. He said maybe 60-70% chance he'll be there again this year. So he hasn't been to Vegas lately. But it'd be good to see Daniel, and he does a good job of tweeting the international news from the fastener world under his account, Bozzi Fasteners. Wish more people had put pictures up from the shows. And speaking of international shows, I grabbed a copy of Finn at the CIFA conference, and they reported on the attendance at the Taiwan International Fastener Show that took place last month. It says on the first day of the two-day event, they drew 1,372 visitors, and there were a total of 416 booths by 230 companies, according to this article.
Interesting. Okay.
It's good attendance, but it's kind of weird that so many companies must have had multiple booths.
Well, maybe they count a bit differently. Maybe they, a great big booth like Porteous or someone has is counted as 5 booths or something.
Yeah, that's possible. But sounds like it was a pretty successful show. And on another Fastener show note, we have a breaking story about the All-American Fastener Show. You'll remember that this year's rendition of the All-American Show was canceled because there was some damage to the hotel from the tornadoes earlier in the year. Well, I got an email from Heidi Voltrauer, and she has announced that the show for 2013 will be held in Kansas City, Missouri, and the dates for that will be May 8th and 9th, 2013. The facility is the Intercontinental Hotel and Plaza, and she says it's an amazing facility, and, she's got a little over a year to get ahead of steam for that show. What do you think, Bry?
I never been to Kansas City, Missouri, and so I look forward to going there and covering the All-American Fastener Show.
Well, we will be there, and the one thing that sticks out in my mind about Kansas City, and I have not spent a lot of time there, but it was years ago, and it was a really big barbecue town, if memory serves. But they do it a little differently than they do here in Chicago.
Well, that would be another reason why I would like going there, actually.
Absolutely. I don't know anything about their Scotch menus, though, Bryce. I got a year to research it.
Okay, righto. We've got a year for that. It's fine. I'm sure every now and again, a truck gets there with a few bottles on it.
Yeah, Heidi wouldn't let us down in that department, folks. Don't worry.
Okay.
And, folks, of course, this whole talk radio facade is a crass marketing ploy to drive you to the FCH Sourcing Network, which is the largest sourcing network that we're personally aware of just for the fastener industry. That's right. When you're looking for a fastener, it's a great place to look. There are distributors from all across North America just waiting to make your every fastener wish a reality. And it's all to be found at www.fastenersclearinghouse.com. The FCH Sourcing Network. It's where you need to be. Again, that's www.fastenersclearinghouse.com.
And remember the S. It's not Fastener Clearinghouse. Fasteners Clearinghouse.
Yes is for Scotch.
Yeah. And we should say, now with even more lines for you to search from, 700,000.
That's right. We crossed the threshold, amigo.
Yeah, we did, but we knew we would. Just a matter of time.
It's almost Amazon-esque in scale.
You could say.
Yes. Well, we'll get to that in a moment during our conversation with Andy. But right before we get to that, let me mention that I had the great opportunity to attend the intermediate fastener class put on by the MWFA last week, and I really appreciate the invitation. It was a very, very worthwhile day. It started with a plant tour of the cold header Brico Industries in Elmhurst, Illinois. Tom Tomborello and the crew over there, they did an excellent job. They put out a great, generous spread, too, which was fortunate because I think I saw through like half a box of that Dunkin' Donuts coffee all by myself.
Oh, God.
You know those boxes they have for the...
I never can let you out of my sight. The moment you're around the corner, you're eating something.
Well, it's good coffee, you know. The classroom portion of the course was top-notch as well. They had Rich Pease, Tom Anderson, and Ed Lacera instructing during the morning portion that I attended, and I learned a lot. And that reminds me, I have to show you this sample kit, Bri, that Tom Anderson handed out to everybody. You're going to dig this. It's got all these quarter 20 cap screws from all the different materials, and they're all lined up. It's very, very cool to see.
Wow. Why didn't you get one for me?
I figured you could take mine.
I probably will.
There's a titanium one in there. I mean, have you seen the prices on some of this stuff? It's unbelievable. There's a Monel.
Wow.
Yeah. And the attendance was really impressive on this too, folks. I think they had almost 30 students in the room. And I tell you, if you've got some people on your team who are new or newer to the industry, or if they're like me and they have severe retention issues, well, get with the MWFA and get those people into one of these courses and shorten the learning curve for them.
Yes, I mean, they really do put on some quality courses, and they're great for refreshers or starting off people. So, MWFA is known for their courses.
Or if you just need a really good cup of coffee.
Oh, or something. Yeah, even that.
They also throw in one of the Cambridge reference guide books, which I know is one of your favorite books on the whole planet, Brian.
Well, in its various incarnations, that is the standard upon which we based all of our definitions of fasteners, actually. It's a little bit like, George Washington's axe has had a couple of different names, but it is actually the same thing. It's a very good book.
Right. Only the head and the handle have been replaced.
Yeah. 3 new heads and 2 new handles. Isn't that George Washington's axe?
Well, everybody knows it by now, but the website for the Midwest Fastener Association is www.mwfa.net. Well, Brian, let's turn now to the hubbub du jour. And that is the big news that came out this week, the announcement, rather, that Amazon.com came out with this new AmazonSupply.com beta. And people have been talking about it. Believe me, I've been on the phones. Everybody wants to talk about it. Everybody seems to have an opinion. And with us from ScrewCrew.com, Mr. Andy Pels. Andy, thanks for joining us to chew on this issue a little bit.
Oh, you're very welcome. It should be interesting.
Yeah, you can give us like the Google take on this thing, okay?
Oh, we can skip that.
And maybe if we have a few minutes at the end, we'll get your latest impressions on Google Plus if we're good.
Okay.
And Android.
Right. So to get the ball rolling on this conversation, I received from Holden Lewis of BB&T Capital Markets his preliminary analysis on the Amazon announcement. And just let me throw this out to get the conversation started. He says, Amazon splashes into industrial distribution, kinda. On April 23rd, 2012, Amazon rolled out AmazonSupply.com, an internet-based tool for ordering industrial supplies, including fasteners. In the last 2 days, industrial distribution stocks cratered. Fastenal is down 4%, MSC Industrial down 7%, and Grainger is down 7.2%. We believe investors have concluded that what is good for Amazon is bad for, quote, traditional distributors. Guys, what do you think about that?
That really was the first, when you hear news like this, first you think, oh, crud, what's this going to do to me?
Right.
But then you try to comfort yourself by figuring, okay, who's it going to be worse for? And that's the obvious answer, is that unless something strange happens and this doesn't take off, which I can't see, it's going to be terrible for Grainger, MSC, McMaster-Carr, and probably even Fastenal as far as how much they've put into their online fastener sales and other products, not just fasteners.
Now, having said that, what about a lot of the typical fully threaded listeners, the mid-size and smaller distributors? You think they're thinking the same thing, or figure they think they're kind of safe from this?
I try to take it. I don't see a direct. When I just think of my own business, my own customers, I don't see any direct threat. But it really is something that should be a wake-up call. You know how I'm always predicting some vague revolution in the business, even though I don't know what it's going to look like. Things like this should make us really stop and think about how we're doing business and the fact that it is going to change.
Right.
But having said that, I don't see Amazon Supply. I've checked it out so far. It's a good copy of the effort that the Graingers and the MSCs have put into expanding into the fastener business in the last few years. Amazon, of course, has a supply chain and distribution system that I don't think anybody can beat. And one of the big threats is they seem to be kind of specializing, going first for the laboratory type market.
Really? Can you talk on that?
To kind of get the ball rolling, Small Parts Inc. I had done a little bit of business with them, just getting some little laboratory brushes or something like that. They do sell fasteners, but they specialized in laboratory equipment and things like that. And the fact that that's who they chose to buy to get the ball rolling, maybe it was just all they could think of or the only company they could get, which I doubt, but it seems to me that they're trying to go for engineers, designers, those kind of people who kind of know what they need and need a place to go solidify their decision on what type of fastener they're going to try in this new product, and then get some in a quick, reliable way. They don't necessarily care that they're paying 2 or 3 times what they would from the local distributor, because the convenience for somebody who's getting paid a lot of money to design or engineer a product is much more important.
So you see it as a place for small sort of spot buys.
Yeah, I think, at least from my experience, a lot of the people I deal with who in the past have used McMaster Car, they'll come to me and say, we've designed this product. Here's all the McMaster Car numbers for the items that we bought to figure out how to build this thing. Can you cross them over and supply us 10,000 of each now?
Right. Yeah.
That, I think, is part of what they're going for. And I think they're set up well to do it, because the big challenge they're going to have is getting people to cross over from consumer purchasing to business. But if you think about it, at least from my perspective, it seems like a lot of their loyal customers are probably, or reverse that, a lot of engineers, designers, and things probably are people who are already used to the Amazon business model for buying personal products, and it's probably not going to be that big of a leap for them to start using them for business-to-business type stuff.
Well, the difference would be, though, I mean, you're right, when it comes to actually going to full production, at that stage you'd be talking to a distributor or a number of them and working out who's going to give you a good deal for 10,000 or something. Mm-hmm. And you won't be doing that with anyone at Amazon because there's no one to talk to.
Yes, exactly.
The headline of what Holden Lewis wrote was Amazon's entry to industrial distribution - not clear it will matter as much as investors fear.
Okay. Well, but he is, I think, referring to investors in the big public companies like Grainger, MSC, and those guys.
Yep.
And they might be a little bit more into the heavy industrial than Amazon, I think, is shooting for at this point. But I think it's still, if it works the way they want it to, I think they are going for taking business away from those companies specifically.
And another way of thinking about that same idea is that a lot of the typical fully threaded listeners, the mid-sized and smaller distributors, these guys are selling on value added. And that was kind of, I think, what you were implying, really. And that's nothing new.
No, I mean, that's what we know of the distributors. And we tell the various manufacturers who get lost when they're or stuck when they're searching our site, saying you've got to get hold of a distributor. They're ultimately the person who's going to supply you the right part and work with you to make sure it is right and that you can keep getting it.
Yeah.
And they need help, and the distributors do that. That's the value-added part. That's
the thing. Yeah, I don't think, like I said, I think it should be a wake-up call. I think people just need to think about what could be next, but I don't think anybody needs to. Independent distributors need to panic about this, because if you're doing your job well, taking care of your customers, or even trying to get more in your area, and communicating well with them and offering value other than just, hey, we've got some screws on the shelf, do you want them? You'll continue to do well, because most people, even lately, I've had even bigger reminders. There's engineers who went to school for a long time to become engineers who know very little about fasteners, even the experienced ones, some of them. I mean, that's me saying that because I've been doing it for so long, but some of the things that I even now had assumed engineers knew about fasteners that they turn out not to know just makes me feel better about our role as distributors in helping people find the right thing. There's literally...
It's actually comforting how much the engineers don't know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly.
I'm not quite sure which part of this conversation I'll enter into, okay?
My first reaction is to shake my head and roll my eyes, and then I think, okay, good. They do still need me.
Just remember that the next time you're driving over a very long suspension bridge.
Right. Yeah. You hope to hell that the guy really knew exactly which bolts to specify.
Yeah, or which distributor to ask, at least, right?
Yeah.
To get information from.
Well, let me read a little bit more out of Holden's document here, his analysis, and wind up what he says about the quote-unquote existential threat to traditional distributors. They don't think that this move by Amazon amounts to a threat, incidentally. And here are the reasons. First, big industrial distributors mostly don't target the small price-sensitive shop owner. Okay, so we kind of touched on that. Second, we think it will be hard for Amazon to break out of its initial demographic. It has no product expertise. It does not have contact with customers via salespeople, branches, etc. It has no contract pricing. It does not have alternate ways to service the customers, such as vending, VMO, etc. Third, we suspect sophisticated buyers will not see the point of splitting up orders, and he gives a couple of examples of that. And in conclusion, based on these, national accounts and customers using multiple services from a distributor are a poor candidate for Amazon.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I agree, and I don't think that they're missing the mark. I don't think that that's what they're shooting for anyway. Yeah, I don't think that they could take that kind of business, and again, I don't think that's their goal. It's not too tough to see that Grainger, MSC, and all those guys are, even though they don't have a lot of expertise in it, and for the most part don't have people on the ground at their customers helping figure things out, they're still selling millions of dollars worth of this stuff. And Amazon's got the supply chain wide open and the distribution chain. They're great at that. So why not funnel some of this stuff through there if they can? But it's not going to be the 10,000 piece order of anything. It's going to be small quantity, high profit type things. And then because remember, it's not just fasteners. They're offering all kinds of different product lines in this Amazon Supply debut. Once they get somebody in a company to buy one product line, then it'd be pretty easy to expand it. Most companies, if they're even going to allow some buyer to start buying from Amazon Supply because of vendor consolidation being so prevalent, once they do, then they're going to want to expand the purchases from them as much as possible. I can even see Amazon maybe offering some sort of, bonuses for volume or for whatever it is that they're targeting for growth from their customers. If they offer 2% back if you start buying this product line, that kind of thing, I can see some companies going for it. But as far as the big volume fasteners for OEMs, again, we need to all watch for the future. Something's going to change, but I don't think this is going to have a big impact on it.
Well, I know everybody's going to be keeping their eye closely on this. And just one other interesting detail that I learned from this document is that they're apparently trying to avoid some of the mistakes that past non-traditional industrial distributors have made. And one way they're doing that is they've got a giant distribution center in Indianapolis, so they're avoiding all the direct shipping. And then they're apparently going direct with a lot of their suppliers rather than going through third parties. And obviously, Amazon has the purchasing power to be able to pull that off very effectively. That's their history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That actually is, I think, should be the big lesson, is that I've been waiting for somebody, because you know me about talking about drop shipping and certain types of orders and things, because I think things could be much more efficient and effective in the distribution business, fastener distribution.
Yes, I think all fully threaded listeners are very well aware of your mantra on that one, Andy.
Yeah. Well, and my thought has been, if I had $100 million, I could just jump in there and do it myself. Or, if somebody in the business doesn't do it, if the master distributors and the distributors don't get together and talk about what they can do better and make things more efficient, somebody who has nothing to do with fasteners but who has everything else, who has the online presence and the distribution chain and the modern technology, is just going to jump in and sure, they can't replace the industrial distributor, but they can take a big chunk of our business just by making those things more efficient and leveraging those efficiencies. And you know what? One more thing.
You're on a roll, man.
I'm going to stick something else in. One thing that there was an article I read about Amazon Supply where they mentioned that they'd be going after construction business too. I can see maybe the construction yard buying some supplies from Amazon, but as far as construction fasteners, that's one thing that if you're going to specialize in that, and there's always a few companies in the area who do, you've got to have certain product on the shelf. You've got to be delivering to job sites basically every day to really get heavy into the construction market. So I don't see, and again, I think the article I read was incorrect that that's even what they're going for. If you sell construction fasteners, you know that it's really a much different market. In the same sense as the OEM market, in volume being a much different market. I don't think they're foolish enough to even try for that market. They're just going to focus on this type of low volume but high profit, quick shipping business.
Interesting perspective. Steve Dunham of Sasco would have a perspective on that one, Andy, after his experience with the Extreme Makeover Home Edition. We had him on the show recently.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we'll wait and see whether anyone from Amazon can come out at 3 a.m. and deliver extra construction fasteners. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. It's just it's a much different market. But again, they probably sell some supplies to the main office for that construction company. But as far as the job site, they're not going to get it, and that's not what they're trying for, I don't think.
Well, we'll be waiting to see. I mean, we know Amazon is, a very smart company. I mean, they've made a lot of money being smart, not being stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And they've thought it out, and I guess they've identified a place where they can fit in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I think they will very well. Maybe, another lesson that people can get out of this, too, is if you're still trying to set up a website to sell 4x1 grade 5s to somebody who's searching for it on Google, stop wasting your time.
Yeah, just send them to Fasteners Clearinghouse.
Yeah.
Right, because that's what we do.
Yeah, oh, exactly. The big players, like these guys that we're talking about, and Fasteners Clearinghouse.
Yeah, the Amazons, the FCHs of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
right.
well, you guys, you know darn well you rank really well in SEO because of the nature of what you do at Fasteners Clearinghouse, the way things are listed. But if somebody's going to try now to start up a website and be found anywhere on Google when somebody searches for a basic fastener, they're wasting their time.
Right. It's
Unless
very, very hard, and you need to have a lot of patience.
Oh, yeah. And I think local or independent, even with multiple location distributors, would be better off if they want to use the internet, use it to make your existing customers purchasing better and easier somehow. Just deal with your existing customers. Or if you really want to get out there on the web looking for new business out of the blue, you got to specialize in something. Like JC Sales and Rivet, they specialize in rivets, obviously. They're going to get business off the internet from people all over the world because they're so good at a specific segment of the market. But if you're selling bread and butter fasteners on the internet,
different story.
Good luck. Yeah. I mean, go ahead and keep doing it, because if you're my competitor, I'd like you to waste your time doing it.
That was nice, Andy. You're getting one of your really good moods at the moment.
I throw out the advice, but if they don't want to take it, that's fine with me.
Little psyops. That's the Andy Pels we know and love.
Right.
Well, listen, the BB&T guys wrap up their statement here with an interesting comment on the big industrial suppliers in general. People might find this interesting. They conclude saying, "We see more opportunity in the distributors' collapse. We have felt Grainger and Fastenal have been overvalued. The drops in their shares, in our view, have only moved the stocks closer to their fair values. In contrast, in our view, MSC was more attractively valued prior to this move and remained so after it. Thus, the Amazon-inspired decline in distributor shares will be seen more as an opportunity than risk, and that still favors MSC Industrial."
Huh. See, that's why I like those guys that keep track of the numbers every day, because I am not able to do that. But
what would we do without them?
Right.
Yeah.
So Holden's not expecting an invitation up to Fastenal's dinner anytime in the near future.
I don't know about that, but I'm sure they're listening. And, those guys, they know what they're doing. So keep your eyes open for counter moves. Now, to wind the conversation up, Andy, question for you. And that is, I've got to upgrade my 8-track of the Best of the Doobie Brothers. What website should I go to?
Okay, well, first you need to type /run on your 286 computer. No, that's funny. Yeah, you can probably find some tips on there on Google Plus if that's what you're getting at.
I knew that was coming.
I should tell you, full disclosure, I don't know if I told you guys, I have an iPad now, which I love.
God.
And I am probably, if I replace my phone anytime soon, I'm probably going to get an iPhone. So,
wait, we can't do that in the near future. We have to have someone to carry the torch for Android devices around. I mean, what am I going to do if I can't make snide comments about you and your phone?
Well, okay, I'll look at the newer Androids. And my phone is over a year old, so I'll look at the newer Android devices and see if maybe one compares.
Well, I don't know. You got to look at it another way, Bri. You've won over another iPhone devotee through FTR, which actually is one of your secret missions. We all know that.
This is true. I have to go out and buy some Apple shares, okay?
We sure do appreciate you joining us, Andy Pels of ScrewCrew.com. Your insights and wisdom are always appreciated.
Oh, it was fun. Once again, I really enjoy it.
We'll be right back with more Fully Threaded.
Brian and Eric, Fully Threaded Radio. It's Fastener dog-approved talk radio for the fastener industry.
When top quality and outstanding service are at the top of your list in fastener suppliers, turn to Stelfast. Since 1976, Stelfast has grown to become an industry-leading importer and manufacturer of the highest quality industrial fasteners, specialty items, and automotive parts. Our array of facilities across North America and in Asia, along with full quality control labs and ISO 9001-2008 certifications, ensure the highest quality parts, and at Stelfast, they're delivered with undisputed service excellence. We're family-run and dedicated to your success. Our customers have come to depend on the expertise of our staff and the quality of our products. We also offer a wide range of secondary services to meet some of the toughest requirements you might have. Contact Stelfast today through our website at www.stelfast.com and put us to work for you. Stelfast. Service you deserve, people you trust.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 2012 Beacon Fasteners have arrived to redefine the notion of superior engineering. See one and behold the ultimate synthesis of form and function, style and substance. Hear one as the head turns with inexorable force. Touch one and feel the fire-forged steel standing in stark contrast to the sleek and graceful lines of the body. But to drive one, to drive a 2012 Beacon Fastener is to experience a harmony of power and performance that surpasses all expectations. At any speed, at any torque, each 2012 Beacon Fastener model offers a level of handling unparalleled in its class. A feat made possible by the knowledge acquired through rigorous and systematic test driving, conducted at our own industry-renowned proving grounds, nestled in the heartland of America. And with the 2012 model year, we proudly introduce the newest high-performance addition to our lineup, the Machine Screw Series. Call toll-free at 800-669-2658 for your own private consultation with a Beacon representative and learn a whole new definition of performance. The 2012 Beacon Fasteners have arrived. Drive one today.
It's almost time for the biggest fastener event of the summer. This is Matt DeLauder of SWD Incorporated, current president of the Midwest Fastener Association, inviting you to this year's MWFA Fastener Expo. The show takes place on June 25th at Medina Banquets in Addison, Illinois, just a short drive from O'Hare Airport, right in the heart of the fastener industry. This will be a tabletop show and the largest regional event of its kind this year. For the show, we will have a brief 2-hour workshop, Safeguards Against Ordering Wrong Parts and Minimizing Risks. There will also be a seminar in the afternoon, Sharpen Your Leadership Skills, sponsored by Wi-Fi. After the expo, you'll want to stay around for the annual Fastener Bash for some of the best networking opportunities this year. Also this year, we've added a new event that should be a real blast, 4 holes of glow-in-the-dark golf. I don't think you'll want to miss this. Come and be part of this unique opportunity and play golf at night with some of your best Fastener buddies. For the more serious golfers, the 60th annual MWFA Golf Tournament and Awards Dinner will take place the following day, June 26th, at Eaglewood Resort. For more details and registration information on both events, see the MWFA website at www.mwfa.net. That's mwfa.net. Don't miss the MWFA Fastener Expo and Annual Golf Tournament on June 25th and 26th in Addison, Illinois. I'll see you there.
Hi, this is Julie Babcock with Beacon Fasteners. You are listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric, back with you on Fully Threaded. Well, that MWFA event sounds like it's going to be a real hootenanny.
Yeah, like most of the events.
Uh-huh. Nancy told me that booth sales are going crazy, and they're actually selling the tables now in the foyer, the overflow. And actually, I opted to put our table out there as well. It sounds like it's going to be really, really full.
Wow.
Plus, they've got Glow Golf.
You and Glow Golf, okay.
I got to tell you, it's SIFA. That was way more fun than I thought it was going to be. We really had a lot of fun with that. You've never done it, huh?
No. I'll believe you. It's lots of fun, okay. Do I sound convincing?
Well, see, you're going to have to be like me. You're going to have to go out there and try it. You know, there was this one hole, I think it was the final one that they had set up there in Birmingham at the SIFA conference. And, of course, everybody was feeling pretty good, and it was pitch black out. But either side of the fairway was lit up with these glowing rods. And then, of course, your ball is lit up with this glow stuff. And so the last hole had this wicked incline, and it was just impossible. I mean, if you shot straight for the cup, your ball would be going 100 miles an hour by the time it got there. Well, a big crowd was gathered there watching to see if anybody could do this. And I tell you, the guy who came closest was Robbie Gilchrist. You could tell that guy's hung out on the greens a little bit, and he was actually shooting way off to the side and letting it roll in. And he got pretty close a couple times, but I don't know if he made it or if anybody else did, but it was a whole lot of fun.
You know, I don't even play golf well in a brightly lit day, okay? No wind and perfectly manicured lawns.
See? So this is perfect for you. Plus, I don't know what it is, but it just inspires the spontaneous urge in people to buy and sell fasteners.
Maybe I'll have to learn how to play it. At least the darkness gives you some degree of anonymity. That's the best part for
it. Good point. Well, that's June 25th. Hey, there's another big golf tournament coming up in June, and this one's a whole lot more serious. This one's for the big guns, although, as I understand it, you don't have to take it all that seriously, and that's the 15th annual Midwest Council for Children with Disabilities golf outing coming up on June 11th. This one is no secret to a lot of people in the fastener industry.
Right. Yeah, I know this. I've discussed this at length in the past with Marty Henneberry, and he's from Screws Industries. He's very closely associated with this.
That's right, as is Tony Nelson, the new president of SIFA. Those guys, they work real hard to make this event successful. And Screws Industries and Gateway Screw and Rivet are very, very strongly behind the MCCD event. Again, that's happening this year, June 11th, 2012. Let's see, I've got the location here. It's actually so large that it's spread out over a couple of golf courses. And this year it's at White Pines Golf Course in Bensenville, Illinois, and Maple Meadows Golf Club in Wooddale, Illinois. It's all followed up by a dinner at Alta Villa Banquets in Addison. And the details are available at the website, www.mccdcares.com.
Yeah, this is a very, very well-known event in the Midwest and many places because it serves a great charity, and it's been going on for ages.
That's what I understand. And despite our severe handicaps in golfing in general, I think we've got no choice but to get out there this year, Bri.
Right, okay.
And before we move on to the Fastener News Report with Mike McNulty, let's thank our sponsors. And they are, again, Stelfast and Beacon Fasteners and Components.
Yes, thanks for supporting great radio.
That's right, Bri. And thanks to you also, everybody, for tuning in, telling your friends about Fully Threaded. We sure do appreciate that. We enjoy speaking with you at these various events and conferences, and we'd love to hear that you're out there actually listening. So thanks.
And I'm very impressed still with Mark Classic that he could pull DIN 975 straight out as threaded rod, okay? I didn't know he was right into metrics that much.
He's a guy with a lot of hidden talents, as I now know.
Okay.
And here's another guy with a whole bunch of talents, and that's Mike McNulty with the Fastener News Report.
Thanks, Brian and Eric, and greetings to all the Fully Threaded radio listeners out there. This is Mike McNulty from Fastener Technology International Magazine, bringing you the Fastener News Report, which is sponsored by Volt Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners. Earlier this week, I was reading the FastenerBlog.net, which is written by the Traveling Salesman, a regular contributor to Fully Threaded Radio. His latest posting was titled The 4-Hour Work Week, and it was basically about a book that showed you how to get 40 hours of work done in 4. This sounds too good to be true, but I am kind of worried that someone in Washington like Joe Biden or Nancy Pelosi will get a hold of this book and suggest a new regulation on overtime pay for anyone working 5 hours or more per week. If that happens, no one will be able to afford anything that needs a fastener in it, and I will have to find something else to focus on. In today's top story, we're going to talk to Mark Packard, sales manager at Rocknell Fastener, to get the details on his company's recent appearance on the Fox Business News Network. We also have some newsmaker headlines and the back page of this report featuring discussion of a clever billboard. We will get to all of that and the Rocknell Fastener story right after this.
Volt Industrial Plastics is the source for all your high-quality plastic fastener needs, and customer service is their #1 priority. With almost 1 million fasteners in stock and same-day shipping on stock items, Volt Industrial Plastics carries inventory so you don't have to. Volt manufactures everything in-house from over 125 different materials, and they're proud to say 100% of their products are American-made. And of course, custom tooling and in-house bagging is available. Contact Volt online at www.voltplastics.com. Volt Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners.
FastenersClearinghouse.com. Search and source from over 500,000 line items, all just a mouse click away and available at no charge. When the need arises, you won't find a better place to locate hard-to-find fastener inventory. It's where you need to be.
This is Joe Truckee of Cal Fasteners, and Fasteners Clearinghouse works for us.
This is Robert Wanzer, and Fasteners Clearinghouse works for American Imperial.
This is Andy Pels from ScrewCrew.com, and FCH works for the fastener industry.
Join the sourcing network now and show your inventory to a whole new market. Turn slow movers into cash. List up to 10,000 line items. Show them to distributors only or to the world. FastenersClearinghouse.com. It's where you need to be. Mike McNulty.
On April 18th, Rocknell Fastener, based in Rockford, Illinois, was featured on a national broadcast segment of Manufacturing Marvels, which is aired during the Cavuto on Business show on the Fox Business Network. Fox News sent a production company to Rocknell last month to shoot video footage for the 2-minute segment. The video covers the manufacturing capabilities of Rocknell Fastener, which makes fasteners for automotive and commercial applications. Manufacturing Marvels airs regularly on the Fox Business Network around 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it spotlights American manufacturing companies. These production spots are designed to promote American manufacturing, American-made products, and American manufacturing jobs. To get a first-hand account of this story, we talked to Mark Packard, Rocknell Fastener's sales manager. Hi, Mark. Thanks for joining us on the Fastener News Report to talk about your company's recent television appearance on the Fox Business Network.
Hi, Mike. How you doing? I'm glad to be here.
Now, Mark, how did you guys get involved with Manufacturing Marvels program?
Actually, Manufacturing Marvels, I think, was out there making some cold calls on fastener manufacturers, and the call actually ended up in our engineering department, and one of our engineers forwarded the information to me, and I called Manufacturing Marvels and let them know of our interest based on what they had let us know in their in the phone conversation with engineering, and we took it from there. There was several emails and phone conversations that went back and forth about how this thing was put together, and we showed our interest right up front, and they put together a script, and we were the guys they chose. So being the first to answer their call, I guess, got us in.
Oh, it's a good lesson. Being, quick to react probably gave you the edge on some people. Now, I understood they sent a production crew on site to your factory. What was it like to have this crew on site?
Actually, it was pretty exciting. It was very well staged. However, I will say that they leave nothing to chance. As I already mentioned, they had sent us a script that they wrote, and we had to approve. Basically, what they wrote was quite well done, and there was very little changes that was necessary on our part. And so, based on the script, we knew what they were going to shoot, and we let the plant know and the operators know that there would be a production crew on site. And then the day before, some of us managers went around and again reminded most of our operators that there would be a production crew on site, and that just to be ready for them. We weren't sure who they would shoot, what they would shoot, but we kind of had a rough idea of the machines and the equipment and the things that they were looking for. And then when they finally did get here, they shot the whole thing in about 10 hours. They started at 7 in the morning. They were done by about 5 in the afternoon.
That's pretty good. Now, as I think Eric had reported on this program last episode, some earlier episodes, that there's been several fastener companies that have been featured on the Manufacturing Marvels program, including Aztec Locknut and Davies Molding. Did you get any indication from these guys? I know you said they called a bunch of fastener people, but are they doing any long-term focusing on the fastener industry?
No, that was really never mentioned, and I'm not sure if that's going to be one of their focuses. If there are other fastener manufacturers that would want to become involved with this production, I would suggest that they contact Manufacturing Marvels to see if there's other manufacturers that they'd like to take a look at. They had a few unique comments about the fastener industry. I don't think they realized what it takes to make a fastener. I got the same dazzling amazement, so to speak, from the film crew that was here. There's I think a preconceived notion out there in industry that a fastener or a bolt is something fairly simple, and when people on the outside see how it's actually made and the amount of engineering and manufacturing expertise that has to go into making a bolt, it really it puts the fastener industry in a whole different light.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think a lot of people take things for granted. They see, finished products, and they don't even think about how the thing is made, and there's a lot of details that go into it. In particular, automotive fasteners, and that's one of your key production areas as a major supplier to the automotive industry. And what can you tell us about the current and future market for automotive fasteners in the United States?
I think that market will be great. Right now, Rocknell itself is experiencing one of its best years. If things continue to progress the way the first 3 months of the year have started, we will have a record year in sales and in profit. and it all bodes well for us. But as a whole, I think the fastener industry long term looks to me that it will hold up very well. I've been to several automotive supplier conferences in the last couple of months, and as a supplier to both the OEs and some of the tier conferences that I've attended, they show to us suppliers, what the long-term goals are for themselves and for the market in general. And a lot of folks are now putting out there the outlook all the way out through the year 2020. And everybody I've seen has shown that the growth in total automotive production will increase to about 17.5 million vehicles by the year 2020. This year alone, I think we're gonna get to about 14.5 million vehicles produced here in North America, and I think that's quite a bit over what the original forecasts were going back just a couple of years ago. So things are on the rise. Everyone expects those numbers to continue to rise, and so the outlook looks very good.
Yeah, it's good to hear. I mean, the automotive industry was pounded pretty far down, and it's good to hear that the forecasts are good, not just for this year, but through the end of this decade. Now, you guys are located in Rockford, and Rockford has been famous for fasteners for many years. It's had its ups and downs, and some people have even predicted its demise as a fastener region. And how is the fastener industry faring in Rockford today?
Well, you are correct. It's had its ups and downs. Over the last 10 years, there's been a couple of major players in the fastener industry that no longer exist or exist in a minor role today. But for the most part, it's still a major. The fastener industry is still plays a major role in the Rockford manufacturing community. There are still a number of, I would call, mid-level market size fastener manufacturers in the area. One of the things that we forget thinking about as far as the fastener industry is concerned, we think that of the actual fastener manufacturers, but also in Rockford, there still continues to be a strong sub-supplier base to the fastener industry, including people in header tooling, heat treat, and surface finish. There are many large and major sub-suppliers located here in Rockford that serve the entire North America fastener industry with the types of things that they do.
So it's still pretty well entrenched and seems to be, surviving the times, and maybe it'll take advantage of the upswing in not only automotive fasteners but in other fastener segments.
That's true. It's still, the local press every now and then will, we are still, I think people still perceive Rockford to be the screw capital of the world. You see it mentioned every now and then, and although it's become smaller as the years have gone on, I think it's still. I think people in the fastener industry would agree that Rockford's still the capital of the fastener world here in North America.
Very good. Now I watched the video online, and it's a good video and worth the 2 minutes, I guess. So it's interesting that you had 10 hours of production boiled down into 2 minutes, but it's a good video. And if anybody wants to see it, they can go to your website, rocknell.com, and take a look at the video.
That's right.
Very good. Well, Mark, thanks for joining us, and good luck with the rest of the year and with Manufacturing Marvels. Hope it brings some good attention to you guys.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for discussing this with me today.
That was Mark Packard of Rocknell Fastener Incorporated. Next up, today's top fastener newsmaker headlines. Freundlich Supply Company in Staten Island, New York, a subsidiary of Precision Aerospace Components, is among the first USA-based fastener distributors to receive AS 9100 Revision C certification. Freundlich supplies fasteners to the government, aerospace, and industrial markets. The North Coast Fastener Association in Mentor, Ohio, is holding its NCFA Distributor Social on June 7, 2012, at the Crowne Plaza Hotel in Independence, Ohio. This event is a forum in which top fastener suppliers make contact with prominent distributors in the local market. Details are available at ncfaonline.com. SteelGuru.com reports that Doka Fasteners, a Norwegian-based manufacturer of heavy-duty fasteners, has installed a new furnace at its new heat treatment plant in Auburn Hills, Michigan. The new quench furnace will be used for treating hot-formed steel fasteners for the wind turbine industry. BE Aerospace announced record results for the first quarter of 2012. Revenues, operating earnings, net earnings, bookings, and order backlog were all quarterly records for the aerospace fastener distributor. When compared to 2011, BE saw its earnings jump 37% on a 25% rise in sales volume. And our top newsmaker headline, which Brian and Eric have already been talking about, is that the world-famous web retailer Amazon.com has launched the beta site of AmazonSupply.com, a new website dealing in tools, materials, machinery, office equipment, and supplies for businesses, industry, and commerce. One of the categories on the site is fasteners, and there are more than 400 pages of products listed on the site. Finally, let's turn to the back page to talk about a clever billboard. A couple of weeks ago, I was headed north on Ohio State Route 8, thinking about fasteners, when this large, attractive billboard grabbed my attention. It featured a really clever headline, "Occupy This," and it had a picture of a large CNC machine on it. With an obvious swipe at the Occupy Wall Street movement, the bold billboard is a clever advertisement for CNC machinery operators at SGS Tool Company, a company that makes solid carbide rotary cutting tools. It's a good example of an old-school advertising made by an admirable company, as I found out after doing some research. SGS Tools started out in 1951 as a three-man tool grinding shop, and today it is a family-operated enterprise with customers in 50 countries, more than 400 employees, and an annual production output of millions upon millions of cutting tools, many of which are used to make secondary operations on fasteners. A visit to the company's website, sgstool.com, reveals its philosophy in one simple line. When you want people to perform, stand back and let them. Hey, not only is that good advice for running a business, but I think it would also make a good campaign slogan or a government motto. On the SGS Careers page of its website, there is a good video called "Give Us Your Best and We'll Give You a Future." If I ever need a second job, I know where I am headed. This has been Mike McNulty of Fastener Technology International bringing you the Fastener News Report. Remember to send your news, pictures, comments, corrections, or complaints to me at McNulty@FastenerTech.com.
It may be springtime, but it's time to go back to school. Bruce Starling's up next with part 2 of his presentation to the Southwestern Fastener Association. Coming up next on Fully Threaded.
It's a screwy world out there, what with outsourcing, celebrity apprentices, crop circles, Biebers, Gagas, those shorts that are almost pants, and mimes. But when you think about it, saying the world is screwy is just unfair to screws, which ironically are what hold the whole world together. And the finest screws out there are supplied by Beacon Fasteners and Components. We can say that because our products are laboratory tested. Twice. Beacon Fasteners and Components also has the largest inventory in the industry, including thread forming, thread cutting, high-low tapping, SEMS, sheet metal, and our new machine screws. And they're all available RoHS compliant. Give Beacon a call today and one of our knowledgeable sales staff will guide you through the ordering process. Then we'll track your shipment, which is one less screwy little detail for you to worry about. Visit us at beaconfasteners.com. It's a screwy world, but Beacon is on top of it.
When top quality and outstanding service are at the top of your list in fastener suppliers, turn to Stelfast. Since 1976, Stelfast has grown to become an industry-leading importer and manufacturer of the highest quality industrial fasteners, specialty items, and automotive parts. Our array of facilities across North America and in Asia, along with full quality control labs and ISO 9001-2008 certifications, ensure the highest quality parts, and at Stelfast, they're delivered with undisputed service excellence. We're family-run and dedicated to your success. Our customers have come to depend on the expertise of our staff and the quality of our products. We also offer a wide range of secondary services to meet some of the toughest requirements you might have. Contact Stelfast today through our website at www.stelfast.com and put us to work for you. Stelfast. Service you deserve, people you trust.
For a selection of hundreds of thousands of fasteners, check out your local Fastenal store or fastenal.com. We can stock domestic or internationally sourced product locally and keep your bin stock filled for you at no additional expense. We are a 9001-2008 certified company that's made a huge investment in quality control so you don't have to. And if you can't find it on our shelf, we can make it for you at the quantity you need at one of our many manufacturing facilities. Learn more by contacting your local Fastenal store or visiting fastenal.com today.
This is Tom Stocking with Stelfast, and you're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
July 18, if you could read the bottom of it, the World Trade Organization ruled that the European Union anti-dumping against China fasteners was not legal. China has joined the World Trade Organization. When you join that organization, there are rules that you're supposed to play by. Well, the European Union did their study on the bolts and nuts out of China and said that what we've got to do is we've got to squash them. We've got to come down on them. And they set a dumping duty for the country of China. In the WTO, you can't do that. You cannot punish a country. You have to do it by factory by factory. So they ruled that what they had done was not proper. They had also set an anti-dumping rate of 85%. Now think about this. Anti-dumping means that you're selling your product into another country at a below what the market price should be, hurting the locals. When 60% of the cost of your product is steel, how are you 85% below the market? That means the steel mill's got to give you the steel, pay you a bonus for taking it, and then you're probably break even with the market. So they said there's just something not right in what you did here. So they made them relook at it. At the time they did this, there was also circumvention occurred. Circumvention means the Chinese factory's still making the part. He can't sell it to the European Union, so he sells it to his friend in Malaysia, who sells it to the European Union. Well, they figured that out. They were circumventing it. So they went back and filed a claim against Malaysia. There, each company had to prove that they were not circumventing. 8 companies were able to prove it. The rest of them in Malaysia could not, and they say 85%. This circumvention decision occurred 3 years after anti-dumping was established. Anti-dumping says that the day we say it is in place, 85%, tomorrow you pay an 85% duty on everything that clears the customs. And this is in Europe, remember, okay? So prices are going to be very high tomorrow, and you've got a lot of ships on the water. Well, you're in trouble on those ships on the water. Circumvention says 3 years later, you go back to the day we said there was anti-dumping. And let's say you're a European distributor of large size, and you're bringing in 100 containers a month. And all of a sudden, 100 times 12 times 3, 3,600 containers now have an 85% anti-dumping duty on them. That's a problem. And they're working with that in Europe right now, trying to figure that one out. The International Monetary Fund said that the Japanese yen was undervalued. We've been hearing this for years. China has been moving the yen a little bit each year, and China's deal is, I'll talk about it, but I'm going to move it at the rate I want to move it. And China moves it at their rate. It has been moving up. The monetary system said it's anywhere from 3 to 23% undervalued. That's a pretty big spread, 3 to 23. But that's what they're saying it is. That used to be much bigger numbers. And so China says, okay, we'll do something about it slowly. Okay, the world's largest steel mill, that's the one from Luxembourg, Exceller Mittal, M-I-T-T-A-L, Mittal, said that the third quarter is going to be a good quarter. Well, the U.S. steel mills weren't saying that. Nucor U.S. Steel said it wasn't such a good quarter and they didn't expect it to be. Well, the Luxembourg company sells across the world. U.S. Steel and Nucor Steel primarily sell here. We still have construction problems. Our economy hadn't picked up yet. So it was because the European country had a much larger base of customer, they saw it as a better quarter than we did here. Okay, Walt, the Portis buyers came in and said that fastener prices are going to be pretty steady at this point in time. Our buyers give us a report every month of who's changed their price, have they gone up, have they gone down, which commodities have they moved on. And they say that things are sort of standing fairly still and looking pretty good, which was good news. We'd been moving around a bunch. Chinese is exporting its inflation. When salaries go up 20-25%, things start to cost more in China. As they cost more, their selling price has got to be higher to cover that cost. So what they've done is they've exported the value of their inflation to the country that's buying their product. This is causing those countries to look at it and say, maybe China isn't as good as it used to be, because things are getting higher priced in China. That is going to continue. Their prices are going to continue to go up. They're saying maybe we ought to embrace automation. You go to a washer factory in China and watch them make washers. They've got the stamps and they're stamping them out, and there's probably 20 machines in a row stamping them out, and they're stamping them out on a big sheet of metal on the floor. While the machine is running, another guy's coming along with a shovel, picking them up, putting them in 5-gallon buckets. Then he takes 2 5-gallon buckets and walks it over where they're either going to sort them, they're going to tumble them to get the burrs out, or they're going to send them to the platers. The Chinese are saying, maybe we ought to automate that. There ought to be a way to move those washers to the next step without the 5-gallon buckets. They're also saying some of this business may go to other Asian countries. Nucor appealed to the decision that was made by the International Trade Commission to the Court of International Trade, the ITC. It was appealed to the CIT when you talk government stuff, and they said it wasn't right, that it was wrongly done and the decision was unlawful. Nucor was trying to get the anti-dumping duties and countervailing duties against China and anti-dumping duties against Taiwan. Okay, and the ITC ruled against them. So they went to the Court of International Trade, who ruled in their favor, sent it back to the ITC and said, here's the things you did wrong. Well, the ITC has 2 options. One of the options is to go behind closed doors like they do and look at every one of those complaints and then come back and say, we have studied them and we disagree. Our original decision was correct. Or they could say, we've studied them and you're right. We have made a mistake and we're going to reopen the case and come up with a new decision. We'll talk about that in a moment. That's happening now. They're studying it. August 31, the buyers say prices are still holding pretty steady. There's some movement in bolts, up 1, 2, 3%, but no huge movement. So prices are holding pretty good. Wall Street Journal reports that the Chinese economy is holding firm. They're sort of standing still at the moment with the growth rate they were running at. And they've decided that they're going to support productive enterprises, but not support real estate so much. There's too much speculation going on in what they call non-productive parts of the economy. That was real estate speculation. They're going to slow that down. This is a biggie. September, our economists said, wait a minute, maybe we were wrong. The economists in the United States prior to this said that if we buy a lot of Chinese product or imported product at cheaper prices, it costs U.S. jobs. But that's okay, because those workers are either going to get another job or they are going to retire. And what we have left is the cheaper product, which is good for us. Now they say China was so good at that they're doing it at such a rate that we can't retrain all these people that lose their jobs. They can't all retire because now they're too young. And so what's happening is unemployment insurance is going through the roof. Food stamps are going up. Disability payments are up. All of these increased costs are increasing taxes. Increased taxes are making our economy less efficient. So maybe we made a mistake. Okay? But you got this gorilla China who's been doing it for years, and they're saying maybe that was the wrong thing to do at the level we let it happen. Buyers say prices are still pretty steady. My salespeople hate this, don't you? God, this is tough, isn't it? To tell you the buyers have been standing. Their factories overseas are saying, let's wait and just see what's going to happen. And there's not a lot of movement in price. Okay, we start pressuring China again to change the value of the yuan. Okay, on a period of time, they had already moved that over the past, since 2005 to today, about 7 years, they moved it about 30%. Well, that's about 4% a year. Well, they can handle that. But moving it at 30, 40% at one time would have bankrupted that whole part of the world. So they won't do it, and China's not going to do it. They'll continue to move it, because they're going to move it slowly, and they're going to do it very gradually. I told you that the Cardinal had gone into bankruptcy. We found out on November the 1 that the stalking horse bid that Worth Company had made on it was the highest bid. They took over it, and Doka Fasteners is now running Cardinal. We talked to the Cardinal people. We know them well. And they said that if I had the nerve to tell you that they're stronger and better than they ever were. So I told you that. Cardinals people says they're stronger and better than they ever were, and they're coming out and they're going to be okay. But they're operating under a new name. Taiwan hedged against what they thought steel was going to do. It had not been announced. They lowered their prices. At the end of the year, they didn't have many orders on the books. So to generate orders, they just unilaterally lowered the price in the anticipation that China Steel was going to lower the price of steel. They did. The slide I showed you earlier showed that they moved it down about 3.8%. So their gamble paid off. Sort of makes me believe that somebody knew something about what was probably going to happen. This is the International Trade Commission ruling on the Court of International Trade, saying that Nucor's case, while they said was illegal, was not. So the ITC looked at each one of the complaints that the Court of International Trade gave them, reviewed them closely, reviewed them against the data, and says, no, our original decision was correct. It's been tough for Nucor to win this because Nucor is running pretty much 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. So they're having trouble proving damage when they're running full bore. Okay? So it's been a case that's been difficult for them to win. Christmas came early because all of a sudden last year, car sales went up, farm implement production was up, drilling equipment was up, and they started investing in steel mills and steel production in this country, which is good news. Okay? So Christmas came a little bit early and the steel mills are happening. I'm speeding up just a little bit because I want to save time for the summaries at the end, which will mean more to you than this. Labor contracts with some Canadian unions are getting tough. What we had is Caterpillar locked out 450 union workers in London, Ontario over a contract dispute. And the union gave in and they put them back to work. Rio Tinto had a smelter in Quebec, 800 employees, and shut it down, locked them out because of a labor dispute. Rio Tinto, when I talk to you about them, it's usually talking about Australia because they're the big iron ore producer down there. that's selling all the iron ore to China, to Taiwan to make the steel. But they have the smelter in Canada. They locked out 800 of them. It took a few days to settle. They're back on the job. Navistar International, who make the big trucks, they just closed their plant in Canada. They couldn't come to an agreement on wages, and they said, we can't afford what the union is demanding, so we'll just close it down and not have a facility here. China Steel, Taiwan, announced that they were going to close down one of their furnaces for a substantial maintenance. It was almost like we're going to just do away with it and rebuild it. Okay, it made 1/2 inch and 5/8 inch wire rod. We had concerns there would be shortages, but the factories over there have stockpiled 1/2 inch and 5/8 diameter to the extent their cash flow would let them. And what we're finding out now, we're not quite to the shutdown, but we're getting pretty close. There probably will not be a shortage, and the product should come on through normal. But when they close one of those furnaces, that makes a difference in their production schedule. Earlier I told you that the European Union had put the tariffs against China and Taiwan on the stainless steel screws. They also had them against Indonesia, Thailand, and Vietnam. After 5 years, those are automatically reviewed. And the decision is either continue them for 5 years more or do away with them. There is no option in the European law to change it. You can either accept it or reject it. They said, okay, we're going to accept it for 5 more years against China and Taiwan. We're going to release Indonesia, Thailand, and Vietnam. I'm going to skip through a couple of spots and just say a couple of sentences about these. The European Union operates different than we do. We have the ITC, the International Trade Commission, that rules on something, and a company can bring a petition like Nucor did. You can bring a petition for it. Vulcan did it on the threaded rod a few years ago. Bring the petition. In Europe, some organization has to do that. So the EIFI does it. That's the European IFI. They bring the complaint. It has to cover at least 25% of the volume of that product. They bring it to their commission, who determine does it get anti-dumping. If they decide it does, and that one commission is the judge and the jury, they study the evidence, they make a decision, and it is theirs. But you have to have a majority of the 27 countries of the European Union agree with it. And once that's in, it's in place for 5 years. They've had trade laws that says that's wrong. And the World Trade Organization has said on this one, you made a mistake. It stayed in place for 5 years. At the end of 5 years, they said, well, you're sort of right. We're going to keep it for China and Taiwan, but we'll release the other countries and let them go. What we've got here is a note that the Premier of China, Mr. Wen, has said, let's slow this Chinese government down a little bit. Let's grow at 7.5% this year, not 13.5% they did last year. So he's basically trying to slow things down, and most of that slowdown is occurring in speculation on real estate. If you go over there and wonder where all the cranes are in the world, they're in China. Every place they're building things, building after building. They're slowing that down because there's a lot of buildings and the entire complex is built with nobody in them. They're built on spec, they're not being rented, and it's causing a problem for it. So they're saying, let's slow it down. In slowing it down, it affects Australia, it affects Brazil, and it affects the oil-producing countries. Because that's the countries that are shipping all that stuff to China to keep the infrastructure going. So that's the ones that are going to slow down. Let's take a look at a bit of a summary. When I do one of these talks, I write to the vendors overseas and tell them that I'm speaking to you on what day and what would you want me to tell these people. We think at Portis that it's important that you know what's going to happen. You can prepare your customers. And it's our ways of trying to prepare you for what's going to happen. So we talked in Taiwan, we said, what's happening with steel? What we're told, and by the way, our buyers, one of them, Jim Jordan, who's already been there and come home, I have his notes. Barry Portis was there at the Kaohsiung Fastener show and have his report of what he saw in the vendors he talked to. We have George Barast over there now, and Bill Flynn will follow toward the end of April to visit his vendors. They say the steel is expected to be fairly steady, probably increasing a little bit in the third quarter. But by the third and fourth quarter, the little bit, we're talking 3 to 5% at the most, and they don't really expect that much. So we're looking at pretty good steel prices. They're not expecting shortages, and there should be plenty to go around. Labor's going to be up 3 to 5%. The government in Taiwan increased the minimum wage. That affected labor, and they're having to pay a little bit more to keep their trained people. So that's going to raise the labor cost up a little bit. And the young people in Taiwan don't want to work at a hot factory. They want to work in the city at an office job. And they want to sit there and wear a tie because the factories are hot, the factories are dirty. It's not a problem, but it's a concern that they're moving in a little bit in that direction. Other manufacturing costs, ocean freight is going up. For those of you that import, you already know they say at the end of this month they're going to move it by $300 on a 20-foot container and $400 on a 40-foot container. That's an outrageous increase. We don't think it's going to hold. The steamship lines think it will. They're jockeying with moving some ships around to make us think there's a shortage of ships. There is not. There's plenty of ships out there. So we're playing this game. It's sort of a Mexican sweat, except it's slanted eyes a little bit, so it's different. You know, and we're playing the game here of who's going to win then. And we don't think they're going to do $300 a container. It makes no sense that with the volume of business they're doing, that they can do that. The utilities are okay in Taiwan. Fuel is up. Obviously, gasoline is up. So that's going to raise the cost. We asked them about the effects of heads and threads closing a year later. What we're told is in Taiwan, it was not a major thing with most of the vendors. Sure, some of them lost some money, but most of Head's product came from China. So in Taiwan, it was the big one, and some of them said it was actually a gain for us because let's say it's one of the items where we have retained the Heads and Threads business. We were likely not buying from the same vendor Heads was. So the vendor Heads was buying from his lost business. Our vendor has increased business. So he's a happy trooper. So some of that has happened over there. The relation with their banks are not quite as good. There is some crunch on cash flow for those who were selling because obviously they lost some money on the deal. So they're having to watch that. Government intervention in Taiwan. Fasteners is a traditional industry there. It's been around a long time. It's been a big industry in Taiwan. So the government likes it. The government is picking on new industries, not fasteners. So they don't see government regulation as being a problem. Equipment and facility expansion, not a lot of expansion. There is a continued upgrade from standards to specials. There's less vendors making specials. Once you lock in a special, you usually can hold it with that particular customer. So they're trying to upgrade their product into more specials a little bit away from standard and give the standards over to China. Comments that I said, what would my listeners want to hear about? They said, well, tell them that prices are going to go up a little bit because inflation is happening. Inflation is slow. As labor goes up, as utilities goes up, as gasoline goes up, inflation happens. That's slow. Steel changes are immediate. So if there's a change in steel, that's going to happen right now. But inflation is over a period of time, but there is inflation still happening in Taiwan. China. Steel prices, fairly steady. They are expecting before the end of the year there will be some increases. They're not talking out of control. They're talking fairly good increases and possibly at the level where the wire brokers will absorb most of the increase themselves. The economy is not good in China because they slowed down building and construction. So there is steel available, and the steel brokers have a lot of steel. So they're not expecting them to be crazy about that. If they change the real estate policy and let them speculate, there'll be a whole new deal. But if they hold to their policy today, we don't see shortages there. Labor, it's a bigger concern than Taiwan. This year they expect labor to move from 10 to 20%. Remember, last year it was 25 to 35. That's some big jumps. But when you're only making about $70, $80 a month, a big jump like that doesn't just kill you, because they're not being paid that much to begin with, but it is a pretty big percent and is going to affect the cost of their material. The workers near the cities or near the ports are running out of workers. The farmers in the middle of the country, there's plenty of them. So they're trying to encourage industries to move away from the ports and move into central China. Other manufacturers and transportation costs, they're going to be up. They have the same steamship problem that Taiwan has. They have the same gasoline diesel problem that the world has. So those costs are going to continue to go up. Effects of the heads and threads closing, the vendors responding here was a much bigger effect because most of their product came from China, and there was a couple of trading companies that got hit pretty hard about that. They have problems with their banks right now. What we are seeing is that the exporters in China are buying what is called an export credit insurance, which is an insurance against the person they sell it to going bankrupt. Well, that's increasing their cost a little bit, but that's how they're hedging against the possibility that another one of the importers could possibly fall out, and they would have trouble with that. I've got a couple other Chinese comments before I go to Thailand. I'm sorry. Government intervention. Fasteners is considered to be a low technical item in China. So there's no real program for fasteners because it's sort of new. It's a low tech. They want the high tech stuff. They want the kind of industries that have been going to India, and they're not getting them. So there's really no programs for fasteners. There's no protection for fasteners from the government. So they're sort of out there on their own, making it a little bit difficult to deal with their banks. Equipment and expansion, not a lot going on in China. Pretty much holding their own. What are the comments the listeners might want to hear about is that China has grown in the fastener industry very quickly. This has been the last 10 years big time, as much as 20 years back as they started in the thing. And they've grown very quick, and now they're finding they're not making very good profits. And that's giving them a problem. They're trying now to start to raise their prices, and we're going to see that. It'll look sort of like inflation happening over there. Thailand, we haven't done a lot of business in Thailand, and we haven't visited that many factories in Thailand. But today, Thailand is the producer of one of our major product lines. And so we said, okay, what's happening then? Tell us. They think steel is going to be fairly steady, and Thailand has quite a good supply of steel. They see that there's not a labor shortage. They have transportation cost problems coming, and that the ocean freights are going to go up, and they have the diesel problem. The banks are pleased with their profits, so they don't have a banking problem. So Thailand is fairly steady for that product. India, as we expand our socket line, that puts us back into India. We've been in India quite a few times, and quite a few times we have pulled out of India. We're back into India again. As you know, the socket shoulder screws, the dowel pins, those come from India, the good ones. And they make a very good one. Don't assume everything made in India is that good, because it's not. You've got to carefully choose your factories. If you choose them correctly, choose them carefully, you can get a good product out of India. The steel is not quite as steady. It's a little difficult to predict. And we run into trouble with India over the little things. They won't label it right. And it takes an act of Congress. We buy thread rod. Thread rod comes in a round tube. We have a barcode about that long that has our part number and all of our information on it. And rather than sticking it on that rod to where you could walk up with a gun, they'll turn it 90 degrees, stick it around that roll, and you can't read it with a gun like this. And it took us months to get them to understand, put the label 90 degrees different, and we can actually read it with the guns. The pallets will fall apart in the containers. You know the cardboard's going to fall apart. So they've got trouble like that. So it's the little things around sometimes dealing with India that makes it difficult to do business with them. Not the big thing like, are the dowel screws good? Because they are, or the dowel pins. And they are good. That's all I have. You've been a good audience. I would open it up for questions, or I think also I'll be hanging around after the next group so we can have questions there, but we'll take a few now. Yes. Question? Yes, go ahead. Yeah. Okay, it depends on now. I talked two things. I talked about the European Union. I talked about here. Here, the ITC did the tariffs against, or said Nucor could not win their claim. Okay, the Court of International Trade says the way you ruled that was not correct. ITC went back and looked at the way they ruled it and said to the Court of International Trade, yes, we were correct. Nucor is turned down again. Now, Nucor has options. They can continue to fight it in the Court of International Trade, or they can go to the U.S. Court of Appeals and take it there. Or they can give up. But right now, there's none. The European Union, their problem that they did is they set the rate against China as a country, not factories in China, and the WTO, which they are a signatory to, and they're also part of GATT, said you can't do that. You have to deal with individual producers. So they've tweaked that a little bit, okay? But they've kept the tariffs on. The thing that it does is two things. One is when the tariffs in the European Union happen, it affects us two ways. One is there's a country now they can't buy from. So they're going to move to a country they can. That affects me buying in that country because now there's two of us playing for that business. The good side is they left this country. I can now go there and buy from the country there, and they're looking for volume. So it plays that. It changes my sourcing. The second is the more times the EU are successful, the more likely it is that U.S. countries may decide that's a remedy for low profits, is to do anti-dumping or countervailing duties. Countervailing duties have to do with the government owns steel, the government owns utilities, the government controls the yuan, so that's not fair. The anti-dumping is saying you manufacture it, you sell it too cheap. So there's two kinds of things happen in China. In Taiwan, you can only do anti-dumping because the government doesn't own all of this stuff. So they play it two ways. Okay, I'm going to hang around. So if you think of something during the break or after this next presentation, well, give me a holler and I'll try to answer it for you. You've been a good audience. I enjoyed being with you every time. You're sort of the home folks. Being an old Texas boy, I don't need an interpreter when I talk here. And that's nice. Y'all sort of understand what I'm saying. But you speak up east, sometime you got to have an interpreter say, this is what that boy really was saying. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Is that some DIN 975 in your pocket, or did you just really like that segment? It's Fully Threaded Radio.
FastenersClearinghouse.com. Search and source from over 500,000 line items, all just a mouse click away and available at no charge. When the need arises, you won't find a better place to locate hard-to-find fastener inventory. It's where you need to be.
This is Joe Truckee of Cal Fasteners, and Fasteners Clearinghouse works for us.
This is Robert Wanzer, and Fasteners Clearinghouse works for American Imperial.
This is Andy Pels from ScrewCrew.com, and FCH works for the fastener industry.
Join the sourcing network now and show your inventory to a whole new market. Turn slow movers into cash. List up to 10,000 line items. Show them to distributors only or to the world. FastenersClearinghouse.com. It's where you need to be.
Hello, my name is Anne-Marie Hoftailing with the Hoftailing Group, and I am pleased this year to be working with PacWest Fastener Association to help its members have its best business year ever. My company is focused on sales and business development, and together we're going to help the PacWest Association members increase their bottom line. through unique workshops, webinars, and yes, even some private consulting time. So make sure that you are engaging your membership benefits. Come to the events, enjoy the workshops, log on to the webinars, and give me a call, because this year we're going to make sure you have the most powerful sales force you've ever had.
It's almost time for the biggest fastener event of the summer. This is Matt DeLauder of SWD Incorporated, current president of the Midwest Fastener Association, inviting you to this year's MWFA Fastener Expo. The show takes place on June 25th at Medina Banquets in Addison, Illinois, just a short drive from O'Hare Airport, right in the heart of the fastener industry. This will be a tabletop show and the largest regional event of its kind this year. For the show, we will have a brief 2-hour workshop, Safeguards Against Ordering Wrong Parts and Minimizing Risks. There will also be a seminar in the afternoon, Sharpen Your Leadership Skills, sponsored by Wi-Fi. After the expo, you'll want to stay around for the annual Fastener Bash for some of the best networking opportunities this year. Also this year, we've added a new event that should be a real blast, 4 holes of glow-in-the-dark golf. I don't think you'll want to miss this. Come and be part of this unique opportunity and play golf at night with some of your best fastener buddies. For the more serious golfers, the 60th annual MWFA Golf Tournament and Awards Dinner will take place the following day, June 26th, at Eaglewood Resort. For more details and registration information on both events, see the MWFA website at www.mwfa.net. That's mwfa.net. Don't miss the MWFA Fastener Expo and Annual Golf Tournament on June 25th and 26th in Addison, Illinois. I'll see you there.
Talk radio for the fastener industry. It's not really all that bad for the most part. Brian and Eric, Fully Threaded Radio.
This is a traveling salesman at Fastener Talk, fastenerblog.net, and you're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric, back with you on the Big Din 975.
Roller coaster.
Like that, Brian? Or how about back with you on the Big 975, The Rod?
Yeah, it sounds like one of the Chicago stations, The Loop. Okay.
I still haven't decided if we should put more of that DJ stuff into the show or not, or leave it out. I mean, is it too showy? Is it too gimmicky?
Yeah, it's too gimmicky. This
Is it?
This is the fastener industry, okay?
What are you trying to say? I mean, we never do shout-outs and that kind of stuff. What if we, did they have those when you were a kid on the radio?
Shout-outs?
Yeah, like, hey, this one's going out to a very special young fastener lady. It's all my threads for you, Melissa Miller.
No. What we had was something like this. You are listening to the BBC World Service, a service specially for you silly colonials who left Mother England a couple of 100 years ago.
Which is why you left.
Yeah.
See, this is why it's important to attend all the conferences and shows that you can, if you can. You develop invaluable contacts, plus you develop lots of material for your next podcast or drinking session.
Yeah, okay. Right. I seem to get left with working in the office here.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that maybe next episode.
Oh, okay. Right.
But I'm thankful I was able to go.
Thank you. Yeah, very nice. Must have been really nice.
And speaking of thankfulness, let's thank our guests on today's episode. And they were Mr. Bruce Darling. Part 2 was fantastic. I think everybody enjoyed it, and we really, really appreciate the ability to be able to play that. Thanks also to Jamie Adams over there at Porteous for getting us the recording and helping to make it possible. Also, Andy Pels of ScrewCrew.com and Halden Lewis of BB&T Capital Markets for his timely and insightful analysis of the AmazonSupply.com release, which we used during the discussion. And, of course, Mike McNulty with the Fastener News Report and his guest, Mark Packard.
And probably we should note that in Bruce Darling talking about upheaval in China, since he even spoke, there's been another one. One of the leaders has been disgraced, and who was expecting to be one of the top, high flyers has disappeared.
The politics in that part of the world are
unfathomable
and tumultuous. You never know what's going to happen, but one thing's true is that they're always evolving, and I think Bruce made a good point of explaining how a lot of that is impacting the fastener industry. And, let's get to that in a second. Very quickly, let me also thank our sponsors on today's show, and they were Stelfast, Beacon Fasteners and Components, Volt Industrial Plastics, Fastenal, and Fastener Technology International Magazine. We'd be glad to get your feedback on today's show, or any of our shows for that matter, and you can email us at the address ftr@fullythreaded.com. Also, we're out there on Twitter under the handle fullythreaded. For those of you who are streaming the podcast off your PC, you might think about putting it on your phone, on your iPhone or Android or BlackBerry, and there are instructions for that on the right-hand side of the fullythreaded.com website. Get out there, follow the instructions, and take FTR with you wherever you're going.
Right, and some of those instructions have been thoughtfully provided to us by Andy Pels. That's the Android ones, and apparently those work pretty well. So if you want to break away from your computer to listen to Fully Threaded, listen to it in your car, or out on the lawn, sunbathing, whatever you want to do, when summer finally gets here, just click on the QR code and continue from there.
Yeah, and see, you were bashing Andy for wanting to move away off to an iPhone for some unknown reason, and now what are we going to do when upgrades happen? We were relying on him for our Android guidance.
I know, but now there'll have to be JR there, actually.
Yeah, there's actually a stable of them out there.
I know.
So you're mentioning all the upheaval in China, and of course that's going on throughout really the whole world in a lot of ways. It is a dangerous world. By the time this episode airs, we're going to be coming right up to the top of May, and there's all kinds of mischief that certain groups have in store. The beginning of May is, I think, going to be a very, very dramatic, intense time. I hope everybody in the fastener world is strapped in, and I hope you all have your courage built up, and I hope you're all ready to stand up when you need to. That's what I'm going to be doing. I'm kind of doing a little preparation for all of this. I don't know where it's going to take us, but next episode we'll circle back and talk about it. What do you think on that, Bri?
Yeah, this is why we call it a roller coaster. It's not quite as predictable as the roller coasters we're used to.
No. It's, one could say, sort of like the DIN 975 of life. It's the eternal infinite helix of the great threaded rod.
Wow. That sounds like something that would come out of a sign of the TARDIS floating through space.
Yes, well, possibly a little too metaphysical for this presentation. Well, with that, why don't we wrap it up and call episode 44 one for the books.
Till next time, everyone.
Until next time. For Brian Musker, this is Eric Dudas. Thanks for listening, and get out there and sell some screws, everyone. And we'll talk to you next time.
Fully Threaded Radio is a production of Fasteners Clearinghouse. Music provided by Audionautics.
This is Gary Todd with Vertex Distribution, and I love listening to Threaded Rod Radio.